Hey everybody, this is Sneaky P.
And Sneaky G coming at you from sneakyuniverse.com, and today we're presenting our SOCOM 4 review. So let's get right into it, P. What did you think about the story?
There's a story?
Yeah, it's not a very good one. Here, let me read the official description from the SOCOM website. Outnumbered, outgunned, under fire, take control. You have 6 days. 6 days to rescue an entire country plunged into chaos by a brutal revolution. Race against time to control a dire situation that threatens to escalate into global war. You are the legendary and fearless operations commander as you take command of the battlefields with your crack NATO squad. The destination is Southeast Asia. The time is now for you to take control. Now that just gave me more information that I had from playing the entire campaign twice.
Yeah, I've played through multiple times, and that's the first I've heard of that. I mean, I just thought it was like a behind enemy lines type game. You know, the beginning, the guy sends you off to do some mission, and that's pretty much all I really got from it when I was playing through it.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, it's completely generic. The characters are underdeveloped. The storyline's very run-of-the-mill. The emotion they try to convey doesn't work at all. To put it simply, it's a mediocre Hollywood blockbuster attempt.
Yeah, and you know, that being said, SOCOM's never really been known for the stories, but they did kind of advertise it as that being one of the big improvements they made coming into this game, so I was kind of expecting something more than what they ended up giving us.
Exactly. Alright, so what are you going to give the story P out of 10?
Considering you actually had to read the description for us to know what the story was about, I'm gonna give it a 2. I mean, it was terrible.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give it a 2 out of 10 as well. I mean, you can't even really call it a story. It's just too generic for its own good. So, next up is the gameplay. What did you think about that, P?
The gameplay is just completely stolen from Call of Duty and Uncharted. They didn't bring too much new to the table. It just seemed like they were trying to use the success the other games had for their own good, but really they just kind of lost the feel of what SOCOM always used to be. One thing they do have, which is pretty interesting, is the ability to control the teammates. You can send your gold team to one area, your blue team to one area, pinpoint targets, and have them hold off on firing until you're in position of where you need to be. That part is really cool, but for the most part they just really stole everything about the gameplay from the other two, so for me it just wasn't that impressive. What do you think?
Exactly, and the funny thing is, even though you can control where your teammates go, that doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna listen to you or stay where you tell them to. They like to be their own kind of Rambo and just run out in the open and the hail of gunfire and grenades. And they completely changed how the game plays. It's no longer about hip fire, it's all about over the shoulder.
Which was never SOCOM's MO anyway. But, you know, about the teammates running out into the open, it's absolutely true. I mean, there's times when there's a certain map that comes to mind where there's this huge cannon firing at you. And I'd send my teammates behind cover. I'm just focusing on something else, and all of a sudden I look over and they're out in the middle of the open just getting pounded by this cannon. And it's kind of stupid for a few reasons. One, they weren't listening to me, which just is irritating because eventually that cannon is going to kill them. But the second thing is, that cannon will land right on them multiple times and they will not die. And it just takes the realism completely away from the game, which was always something SOCOM was very good at, is making a realistic game. And in this sense, they just didn't do it right. And then once that cannon does kill him, you have to run out there and heal him, which is near impossible, because when the cannon's shooting at you, you're dead. So they will lose the entire mission for you because they don't listen, and it just gets frustrating.
Exactly, it's basically just a very linear path now leading from one huge gunfight to the next. And it just lacks the authentic Navy SEAL mission structure that it used to have.
Yeah, and along that line of to where it just kind of one linear path of one gunfight to another, there's certain areas where it seems like the game is just designed to where you have to do it the way it's supposed to be played. And when I say this, I mean sometimes I'll be in prone going through bushes 200 feet away from people, and they will turn around and start shooting the second I can see them. And then there's other instances when I can just prone within 2 feet of somebody and go right by them without them noticing. It seems like certain points in the map are you're meant to do stuff, and then it'll let you do it if you're meant to. But if you're not meant to, you have to get into that gunfight. And it's just different from the other games to where you could kind of beat the mission however you wanted, playing either aggressively or stealthy. and you can make it work. But this game, you have to play it the way the designers want you to play it, which is just kind of, again, it's just not anything entertaining for me.
Yeah, it's really a shame that they copy all these other games and they just bring nothing new to the table whatsoever in the process.
Alright, G, so for the gameplay, what are you going to give it?
I'm gonna have to go with a 6 out of 10 on this one. I mean, it doesn't really separate itself, it's very generic, and it's not really that fun.
Yeah, I think you're being a little bit generous. It's not terrible, but I have a tough time giving a game a good score when it's just completely stolen from something else. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of a 10.
Alright, so moving along here, let's get right into the presentation. What did you think about it, P?
The presentation for this game was absolutely amazing. The graphics were good. They didn't stand out compared to some other games, but the explosions were amazing. The voice acting is unbelievable. It's kind of a shame all these actors kind of were wasted, in my opinion, because they are so good at what they were doing, but just the lack of a story and character development just kind of rendered them useless to me. And then the prize of the whole game for me was the music. The soundtrack was absolutely amazing. It was set up for this huge epic story, and it just outshines the story completely, which is kind of funny because the soundtrack is not supposed to outshine the story, but in this case it really did. And the composer was absolutely wonderful. What do you think?
The graphics were really good. The SOCOM games have never been known for them, but this one really stepped it up. So the environments themselves are great for the most part. There's some inconsistencies here and there where there's some undetailed areas, but the character models themselves are easily the best part of it. And then the sound is absolutely amazing. The music is some of the best that you'll hear in the industry. They brought over the Battlestar Galactica composer, Bear McCreary. It really helps you feel like you're in these situations, in these environments. The voice acting is really well done, and like you said, it's a shame that it doesn't really support the story at all. And the sound effects are just spot on.
So G, what do you want to rate the presentation on SOCOM for?
Presentation, which is really a shame, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. That should be the score for the gameplay and the story, but the presentation really outshines everything else here. The graphics are great, and the sound is the best aspect of the whole package.
Yeah, exactly. The presentation was absolutely amazing on this game. I want to give it a 9 out of a 10. The composer was just brought the best music to the game. The voice acting was great. The graphics were good. I'm giving it a 9. Moving on to the online gameplay, the bread and butter of the SOCOM series. G, you and I have grown up on this. How do you think SOCOM 4 did compared to your expectations?
I think it was initially a disappointment because we were hoping for a return of form for the series back to SOCOM 1 and 2 style of gameplay. But now it's all about over-the-shoulder view, it's about the cover system, no longer hip fire and the D-pad lean. The maps are down to 9 this time, 10 if you pre-ordered for Abandon. There's only 4 game modes. Bomb Squad's really the best one. Uplink's kind of good too, the other ones aren't really that great. They're all kind of based around the old control mode. It still maintains that team-based aspect, so that does still separate it from the run and gun games like Call of Duty and Uncharted. And there are some good points, like the hit detection's really improved now, and lag is virtually non-existent.
Yeah, I bought this game for SOCOM, and I ended up opening the box, putting in the disc, and playing Call of Duty and Uncharted. It's not SOCOM at all. They should have never slapped a SOCOM title onto this game. If I take away the expectations of what the old SOCOMs were and just kind of separate this completely from the SOCOM series, it's not a bad game. It isn't, but it doesn't do anything differently. It just copies Call of Duty and Uncharted and doesn't do it as well. So they alienated their fan base, the SOCOM fan base, to target the Call of Duty fan base. But the only way that's going to be successful is if they make a game better than Call of Duty. And I don't feel like they did that. So for me, it was just a huge letdown, honestly.
Yeah, when you have nothing unique about the series anymore, it's really hard to differentiate yourself from the competitors on the market. I mean, at least it doesn't fall into the run and gun style gameplay like all the other games are. It still remains the most tactical and strategic on the market.
And you know, another thing that drives me crazy is the whole lobby system is terrible. SOCOM used to have the most amazing lobbies. And you could have clan rivalries in these lobbies. You could always get like make a clan room, tryout room, and it was easier to recruit people and play with like your friends and stuff. It was so much fun. Now they've moved over to the quick match lobbies, which are terrible. I mean, they don't even have a party system for this game. So usually when you join a room, it puts you in a full room right away. So if your friend's trying to follow you, he has to wait till somebody leaves. And even if that person leaves, it's not guaranteed he'll be on your team. So it's really a pain to finally get into a situation where you can be on the same team as your friend. And even if you do, it's not guaranteed to continue map to map, you know? It'll switch it up. So the online system is just absolutely terrible when it comes to like making it so you can play with your friends, your clan, or whatever. It just failed miserably for me.
Exactly. It's almost as if they wanted everyone to flock over and use their new clan matching system, which is alright, but it definitely has its faults. Like, Rainier clans can be put together immediately and start warring, and they only limit it down to one map. That's nothing like how the old SOCOM games played, and that doesn't really prove who's really that great.
Yeah, it's a flawed system.
What it essentially comes down to is that it's now an arcade shooter that doesn't do enough to separate itself from the competition.
Alright, G, they also have a co-op on this SOCOM. What do you think of that?
I was really hoping that it would be something different than most of the market offers, but it's really just two modes and there's not that much variety to really keep you coming back.
Yeah, you know, I'm a huge co-op player. I love co-op games and stuff, and I've been waiting for this, and I was hoping it was exactly like the story, and you can kind of play through the campaign with your friends. Until I played the campaign, of course, and I was just hoping for an awesome co-op mode. But they didn't even deliver that, you know. SOCOM 3 had a co-op mode that was very good for that time. So when this came out, you know, it's the new generation console and everything, I was really expecting something big. But in reality, they just give you two modes to play on different maps. It gets boring quickly. It's fun for a little bit, but there's no replay value in it at all. And once you just kind of do a few missions, you don't really care too much about it.
Alright, so what are you going to give the online pay?
I'm going to have to give it a 6 out of 10 overall. They didn't really bring anything different to the table, and everything they did was just not as good as what they were trying to copy. So for me, it wasn't great. I'm just going to give it a 6 out of a 10.
I'm going to have to agree with you there. I mean, it doesn't do enough to separate itself. It doesn't really stand on its own in the market anymore. It kind of blends in with everything else. And there's not nearly enough maps and modes like there used to be, so you can't really give this any higher than a 6 out of 10.
Alright, G, how would you rate the replay value on this game?
I'm going to have to give it a 7 out of 10. I mean, I'm never going to play the single player again. The co-op, probably play a couple of times, but not too much. But the online will definitely keep you coming back for more long term.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be a little more generous than you. I'm going to give it a 9 out of a 10. I'm never playing that single player again. It was terrible. Co-op, I doubt I'll be playing anymore. But even though it's not great and it doesn't stand out, it's decent enough to where I can get off work, come home, and play it and have a good time. Doesn't stand out, but there's definitely a good amount of replay value to the game.
Alright, so as a whole package, what are you going to give SOCOM 4P?
You know, I'm just going to give this game a 6 out of a 10. It's just completely stolen from Call of Duty and Uncharted. If one drunken night Call of Duty were to meet Uncharted at a bar and they were to have a baby, SOCOM 4 would pop out of the vagina. It's just completely stolen from those two games, and for that reason I can't give it a score higher than a 6.
Yeah, I'm going to be slightly more generous. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 to sort of echo the replay value. The single player itself is terrible, but the online has definite long-term potential. Even though it's a shadow of its former self, it's still kind of fun.
So everybody, that concludes our SOCOM 4 review, where we are giving the game a 6.5 out of a 10.
And be sure to check out our SOCOM exclusive ladder and tournament website at SOCOMWars.com and our official website at SneakyUniverse.com.
And remember, everybody, keep it sneaky.